The U20 World Cup is right around the corner, and Blue Lock is finally stepping onto the biggest stage in football. After everything we've seen in the Neo-Egoist League, the rivalries, awakenings, and insane plays, this is the moment where everything comes together. The best of Blue Lock will face the best from around the world, and it's going to test everything they've built so far. With that in mind, I thought now would be the perfect time to rank the confirmed players heading into the World Cup. We'll look at what they've shown so far, what kind of impact they're likely to make, and where their potential can take them in a tournament like this. Of course, we won't be including names like Nagi or Igaguri since their inclusion hasn't been confirmed yet. Nagi might return later depending on how things play out, but right now we're sticking with what we know. And even just among those names, the lineup is stacked. Starting off the list, we've got Chigiri. And while he's ranked last here, it says more about how strong the rest of the roster is than anything lacking in him. Because truthfully, Chigiri had an incredible run in the Neo-Egoist League. He was scoring consistently, performing at a high level every single game, and arguably carried Manshine City through most of the league. While Rio was still figuring things out and Nagi was struggling to keep up, Chigiri was the one providing results on the scoreboard. His speed was a constant threat, and he played smart, always finding the right spaces and making the most of every chance. But the reason he's lower on this list is twofold. First, there's always that concern with his injury history. It's been a theme in his story since the beginning, and on a stage as physical and intense as the World Cup, it's a very real risk. Second, as great as he is with his speed, he's still a little more limited compared to the others. He has that sudden burst of speed towards his sniper goal zone, but the latest chapter reveals an awful position for him to perform. However, if he stays healthy, he'll absolutely contribute in big moments, but I doubt it because many fans actually predicted Isagi to use Chigiri to a certain extent where he would hit his limit and blackout. Next is Bira, one of the most exciting players to watch in the entire series. His evolution in the Neo-Egoist League was incredible. He's always been known for his dribbling and creative style of play, but now it feels like he's reached a new level. He's more unpredictable than ever, constantly finding ways to beat defenders one-on-one, and his confidence with the ball has only grown stronger. During the NEL, he didn't just look flashy, he looked effective, he created real chances, scored goals, and brought a unique rhythm to his team's attack. Keep in mind, he became a full-on individual player after the league, as we see him bursting through defenders instead of relying for passes nowadays. What makes Bira so special is that you never quite know what he'll do next, but whatever it is, it usually works. That being said, I wish I could rank him higher, because his individual skills are top tier. But looking ahead to the World Cup, I do think some of the others offer more complete tools when it comes to dictating the outcome of a match. Bira will be brilliant, and I expect him to score at least a few highlight-worthy goals, but as far as carrying a team or leading in crucial moments, there are still a few players ahead of him in that regard. Speaking about creativity, Rio is next, and honestly, this could be the arc where he fully steps into the spotlight. He's always had potential, but in the NEL, we started seeing that potential translate into real ability. With Nagi underperforming, Rio had to take on more responsibility, and it pushed him to grow. His copy style evolved beyond just mimicking his teammates. He started analyzing and adapting in real time, becoming more of a dynamic creator on the pitch. Even Ego pointed out how dangerous he could be once he leaned into his own genius. The way Rio sees the game, the way he positions himself, it feels like he's getting closer to becoming one of the most complete midfielders in Blue Lock. And with someone like him, the ceiling is high. If he starts copying techniques from international players and using them mid-match, we could see him unlock entirely new layers to his play. Like what if he copies players like Bunny Iglesias or even Charles Chevalier's deadly passes? That'd be incredibly terrifying to face. What makes this even more interesting is how personal it's become. After seeing Nagi stumble in the Neo-Egoist League, Rio has something to prove, not just to the team, but to himself. This World Cup could be his breakthrough moment, the time where he stops being labeled as a support player and becomes a star in his own right. Then we have Shidu, who remains one of the most dangerous strikers in the story. No matter how wild his personality gets, there's no denying that his instinct for scoring is elite. The way he finishes, whether it's a tight angle shot or a one-touch strike, is on a level very few players can reach. He has this natural feel for where the ball will be and how to get there before anyone else. He's aggressive, explosive, and once the game opens up, he's often the one putting the ball in the net. That said, I don't think he'll have quite the same level of dominance as he did back in the Japan U20 match. Back then, he felt like an unstoppable force. Now, with more competition, more defensive planning, and more players fighting for control of the game, he might have to adjust. But that doesn't mean he'll fade into the background. If anything, I expect Shidu to shine most in the later stages of the tournament, when matches are tighter and individual brilliance can tip the balance. And with Setoshi back to support him, that combination is going to be extremely hard to defend. Shidu will still be a crucial part of Japan's attacking power, just maybe not the centerpiece every single match. Another wild creature in the wild would be Bira, and man, there's no denying how far he's come. The reason I put him above Shidu is quite obvious here. From the early days of being just a solo scorer with a god god complex to now leading Italy Ubers as their main finisher, Bira has truly evolved into a world-class striker. He dominated the Neo-Egoist League by becoming its top scorer, consistently finding the net no matter who stood in front of him. We all knew his performance was far better than Shidu, and the fact that his rivalry with Isagi remains on the surface, it's destined for him to awaken further ahead. He's the kind of player who could shock the world in a knockout stage. I honestly feel like Bira would carry at least 2 to 3 games single-handedly, and he'd easily be one of the players to score a hat-trick against a team that counters Blue Lock. His unpredictability is just top tier, and the only thing that might slow him down is his tunnel vision, especially against top defenders who know how to bait or isolate him. But with the momentum he has after the Neo-Egoist League, he's gonna be a serious threat for any country they face. But now, after all the beasts which I mentioned, who could be better than all of them? It's quite a no-brainer here to forget the beast himself, Rin. Dude has been mentioned as the best player by almost everyone, and just had that aura nobody dares to interfere. The Rin we saw in the U20 arc was cold, methodical, and fueled by pure hatred toward his brother. But in the Neo-Egoist League, that version of Rin slowly started to shift. Playing with Paris X-Gen and being around players like Loki and Charles gave him a whole new type of pressure, and he still held his own. It's just that now he's starting to mature. Ego even mentioned that Rin's development was heading toward a complete striker who doesn't need to rely on anger anymore. If that Rin shows up in the World Cup, a more focused, composed version with the same mechanical precision, he might end up being one of the most stable and impactful players on the team. He's the type to have the most impact in the field, like playing passes to teammates, destroying opponents out of nowhere, and heck, even awaken with the Destroyer flow again. I personally think he may even awaken a lighter Destroyer mode, where he takes inspiration from his brother Setoshi. He could destroy opponents gracefully while thinking positively on what to do next, instead of relying on anger. This version of Rin is definitely what I'd like to see in the upcoming World Cup arc. But enough talking about Rin. The player who will finally surpass Rin is undoubtedly Isagi. Bro probably had the most insane growth out of anyone in Blue Lock. At the beginning of the Neo-Egoist League, he was literally subbed and trying his best to unlock a new weapon, and by the end of it, he was outsmarting both Kaiser and Noah, leading Bastard München's plays and nearly deciding every single major game moment. The guy literally transformed into a high IQ playmaker who could break down elite strikers and defenders in real time. His direct shot kept evolving, and he even created combos like the 2 gum volley. What's scary about Isagi is that he's still growing, and he knows it. With the latest chapters, we can envision a Isagi that sold his soul for victory. His personality definitely changed as he became more aggressive to teammates for the sake of winning, to the point he may even argue with them. The villain Isagi would become someone not even himself could predict, a type of player that'll manipulate others into their own demise so he can obtain the crown for himself. I could easily see him becoming the new puppeteer to control every single player on the field. And who knows, he could even team up with Setoshi and make an insane chemistry nobody could even foresee. Now for the core player of Japan, Setoshi. He didn't participate in the Neo-Egoist League, however he was already playing overseas, getting scouted by big clubs and going toe-to-toe with actual pros. His passing, composure, and tempo control are ridiculously high level, and he's the kind of player who makes things look way too easy. But there's a bit of a mystery to say now. After the U20 match, he vanished from the main cast, and that silence feels intentional. Now that we have an official glimpse of him speaking to Buratsuda, it has been confirmed that if Japan wins the group stage, he'll show himself and play with Japan. If he does show up in the World Cup, it'll be as a renewed version of himself, someone who may have finally embraced his ego again. Back in the U20 game, he looked tired and done with Japan's system, but now, with so many strong strikers emerging, and one being his brother, this would definitely be interesting on how he uses everyone for him to defeat his arch-nemesis, who will be Bunny Iglesias in Spain. Right after Say, we've got Bunny Iglesias, the mysterious and crazy good Barcelona midfielder who might be the real villain of the World Cup arc. We haven't even seen him play a full match, but his presence in the manga, chapter 260 to be specific, was enough to shake up the entire fandom. This dude straight up scored a crazy goal in the first team against a professional team. The way he calmly shut down Spain's top team without even trying shows how far ahead he is. That panel alone made it clear. Bunny's not just skilled, he's been above Say for a long time. You can tell by how Say's expression tightened. It wasn't just frustration, it was familiarity. Bunny's the guy Say has been chasing behind the scenes. There's a very real chance these two used to play together in Spain. Maybe even in La Masia, FC Barcelona's elite youth academy. Think about it. Say left Japan to play in Europe, and Bunny already being established there could have been part of why Say shifted roles from striker to midfielder in the first place. In the end, the final villain known as the God Speedster will be our closure. Who, other than the prodigy Julian Loki? Before Blue Lock was even established, Loki was already a professional-level monster, and his presence in the Neo-Egoist League felt like a reminder of what the Blue Lock kids are up against. He's a genius on the field, combining ridiculous speed, technical skill, and tactical intelligence. Even though he was technically just a coach for Paris X-Gen, he still played against Isagi and the others, and he made it clear that there's a huge gap between the top and the up-and-coming. Loki paired with Charles was one of the deadliest combos in the NEL, with Loki often acting as both a finisher and a facilitator. For the World Cup, he'll almost certainly be on France's main squad, and if Japan runs into them, Loki will probably be their biggest threat. What makes him scary is how casually he plays. He doesn't look stressed, doesn't panic, and always seems one step ahead. Unlike ego-driven players like Shidu or Kaiser, Loki plays to win efficiently. And if Charles is beside him again, that duo could end up tearing through any defense they meet, including Japan's.